Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to this video. Hello, my name is Adrovvy Jonathan. I'm glad to be here with you today. In this special occasion, I'd like to present to you the literature analysis of a story entitled The Arabian Night. The Arabian Night was originally named Alfi Layla wa Layla in Arabic, and is translated as 1001 Night. This is a collection of Middle Eastern folk tales compiled in Arabic during the Islamic Golden Age. Within 1721, the first English language edition was published and was rendered as the Arabic Night Entertainment. The work was collected over many centuries by various authors across the Middle East. What is common to all these editions of the night is the initial frame story of the ruler Shahryar and his wife Shahrazad, and the framing device incorporated throughout the tales themselves. I'm, of course, not alone presenting this analysis. We are from Group 4, have the participants consisting Dimas, Panji, Wijaya, Indah, Lestari, Ahmad Fathoni, Nurul Mu'zizah, and me, Adrovvy Jonathan. The content of this analysis will be 1. Setting, including the setting of time, place, and social condition. 2. Characters and characterization, consisting protagonists and antagonists. 3. The point of view of the story. 4. Theme, including the major and the minor theme. And the last is the plot of the story. Those are the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Okay, the first thing we are going to analyze is the setting. The setting here includes the setting of time, place, and condition. If we deeply read the story, we can find many settings of time, starting from long time ago, as the text of the story states in the chronicle of the ancient dynasty of Sassanidae, who reigned for about 400 years. Next is one day. As the text of the story said, one day when the Grand Vizier was talking to his eldest daughter. There is also an hour before daybreak, as cited in the text of the story. My dear sister, if you are not asleep, tell me, I pray you, before the sun rises, one of your charming story. And that is for the setting of time. The presentation will be continued by my friend Nurul Mu'zizah. Dear my friend Nurul Mu'zizah, time is yours.
Setting of place. First, Sassanidae dynasty. It can be proved by the text in the chronicles of the ancient dynasty of the Sassanidae, who reigned for about 400 years. Second, the town. It can be proved by the text. This behavior caused the greatest horror in the town, where nothing was heard but cries and lamentations. Third, someone's house. It can be proved by the text. In one house was a father weeping for the lost his daughter. And the last is palace. It can be proved by the text. The Grand Vizier conducted Shahrazad to the place and left her alone with the Sultan. Next, setting of social condition is a king who rules the kingdom that misuses his power and authority to do wicked acts. Next, characters and characterization. There are protagonist and antagonist characters. The protagonist characters. There are 3 protagonist characters in this story. The first is Shahrazad. She is clever and courageous in the highest degree. It can be proved by the text. Dinarzade had no particular gifts to distinguish her from other girls, but her sister was clever and courageous in the highest degree. Her father had given her the best masters in philosophy, medicine, history, and the fine arts, and besides all this, her beauty excelled that of any girl in the kingdom of Persia. Shahrazad is also intelligent. In this story, she wants to stop the barbarous practice of the sultans. It can be proved by the text. I'm determined to stop this barbarous practice of the sultans, and to deliver the cursed and mothers from the awful fate that hangs over them. And she is also brave enough to recognize Sultan might kill her anyway. It can be proved by the text. Yes, my father, I know it well, replied she, and I'm not afraid to think of it. If I fail, my death will be a glorious one, and if I succeed, I shall have done a great service to my country. The second is Dinner Zaid. Dinner Zaid is a lovely sister who can keep her sister's promise. It can be proved by the text. An hour before daybreak, Dinner Zaid awoke and exclaimed as she had promised, "My dear sister, if you are not asleep, tell me, I pray you, before the sun rises, one of your charming stories. It is the last time that I shall have the pleasure of hearing you." And then the third is Grand Vizier. He is a Grand Vizier who always carries out whatever the Sultan's order. It can be proved by the text. So every evening he married a fresh wife and had her strangled the following morning before the Grand Vizier, whose duty it was to provide this unhappy bride for the Sultan. The poor man fulfilled his task with reluctance, but there was no escape, and every day saw a girl married and a wife dead. And he is also a father who willing to sacrifice for his daughter. It can be proved by the text. "Sire," returned the vizier, "whatever the cost, I will obey you. Though a father, I am also your subject." So the Sultan told the Grand Vizier he might bring his daughter as soon as he liked. Okay, next slide will be explained by Indah Lestari. Time is yours.
Okay, for the next, I will explain about antagonists. The character who has an antagonist character is Sultan Shahriar. Sultan Shahriar is stubborn and tyrannical. After his wife betrays him, he despises all women and vows to kill each new bride on her wedding night. Look at the text. The blow was so heavy that his mind almost gave way, and he declared that he was quite sure that at the bottom all women were as wicked as the Sultana. If you would only find them out, and that the fewer the word contained the better. So every evening he married a fresh wife and had her strangled the following morning before the Grand Vizier, whose duty it was to provide this unhappy bride for the Sultan. Okay, the next material about point of view and theme. Point of view on the Arabian Night story. There are two themes in this story, namely major and minor theme. The first one, point of view. Point of view on the Arabian Night story is a third-person perspective because in this story, the author used the character's name to tell and pronouns such as she, he, her, him, his, its, or they. In this story, there are also direct sentences to vary the story. Look at the text. The first one, blah blah blah, that she had deceived him completely. Second, he left his kingdom in a more prosperous and powerful condition than any king had done before him. The third, her father had given her the best matter in philosophy, medicine, history, and the fine art. And the last, it was therefore with the deepest shame and sorrow that he accidentally discovered. Okay, the next about theme. The first theme is major theme. The theme of the Arabian Night story is a king who experienced having an unfaithful wife and vowed to himself never to experience such a strategy again. So he decided to marry a girl every night and kill her in the morning just to prevent disloyalty and betrayal furthermore. The second theme is minor theme. There are several themes. The first one is the Sultan has an unfaithful wife. The second, the Sultan marries a girl every night and kills her in the morning. The third, the Sultan has a grand vizier who is always obedient and obey all the king's requests. Next, the grand vizier has two beautiful daughters. Next, one of the daughter of the grand vizier want to free the girl from the terror and betrayal of a king. The Sultan and a daughter of the grand vizier finally married, and the last, the two daughters of the grand vizier are on a mission to stop his king's barbaric practices and free the girl and mother from the terrible fate that befell them. Okay, for the next material will be explained by Dimas, Panji, Wijaya. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you Anis for having me to continue this presentation. Now, I'm Muhammad Dimas Panji Wijaya will be explain about plot. Plot in Arabian Night or 1001 Story. In this part, we will explain simply about this story from 5 parts of plot. There's exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Now we move to the first one is exposition. We can find that the Sultan Shahriar has been driven to near madness after discovering that the woman that he married had been set up by his brother Shahzaman to assassinate him. We can find also in the text, one day the Sultan found her with another man. He was very angry and cut off the man's head, and he cut off his wife's head too. From that time, the Sultan began to hate all women. So that is the exposition part of this story. Now we move to rising action. We have 3 parts of rising action. For the first, law requires that Shahriar take a wife again or be forced to surrender his kingdom to Shahzaman or his brother. We can find also on the text, indeed, after 10 years during which this state of things had not ceased to trouble him, Shahriar cut off the country of the great Tartary from the Persian Empire and met his brother king. Now, the second part is Shahriar contracts a plan to take a woman from the harem as his bride and then have her execute the following morning. Now look at the text. From today, he said to Faizar, I'll marry a new wife every day. She will stay with me for one night. Then the next morning, I'll cut off her head so no woman will hurt me again. And then for part 3 in rising action, we have an effort to prevent this atrocity. His Faizar daughter, Shahrazad, offers to become his bride. Now we can find on the text, my father, answered Shahrazad, it is you who have to provide the Sultan daily with a fresh wife, and I implore you by all the affection you hear to allow the honor to fall upon me. And then the next paragraph we can find also, give me to the Sultan, I will be his wife, answered Shahrazad, to become king or Shahriar wife for one night. That's for the resignation. And then for the next explanation will be explained by our friend Ahmad Fathoni. So Ahmad Fathoni, here we go. Thank you.
Next, the climax. The climax of the story starts when Shahrazad and Shahriar are married. Shahrazad comes up with a plan to entice Shahriar by telling stories, but leaving the ending of each unfinished until the following evening to preserve her life for one more night. Evidences on the text are 1. My father is going to take me to the palace to celebrate my marriage with the Sultan, said Shahrazad. Second, I know stories for 1,001 nights, and when I finish those stories, I will think of new ones. Next, falling action. The falling action of the story happened when Shahrazad tells Shahryar a variety of stories. Evidences on the text are 1. So that night Shahrazad told the story. 2. So the next night Shahrazad started a new story. And 3. Then tell me a new story tonight, said Shahryar. The last is resolution. The resolution of the story is throughout the telling of the tales, Shahrazad opens up Shahryar's turbulent heart and shows him how to stand up as the armies of his brother mass outside the city. Evidence on the text is, so Shahrazad won the Sultan's love with her stories. She loved him too, and they were very happy. That's all from us. We would like to apologize if there are any mistakes, and we hope this presentation has given us a new insight on short story, especially the Arabian Nights. Thank you for your attention. Wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.